Getting me sustain on this. up, Abby? James Murphy. There you go. There you go, bud. Hold on, it's like D Stanford. For the James Murphy stuff, I'm gonna say make sure you stay on that neck pickup unless you're doing like squeals, you know. I mean, I guess for like the lower stuff, I think I don't know. I think he plays in the bridge pickup for some of his stuff, but a lot of it sounds kind of like a neck pickup. Like if I play this, that's very different from, like that sounds a lot more like James Murphy. But yeah, do those squeals. I can't even do those. Also, my guitar frets out when I do. A lot of scalar licks. When he does arpeggios, he doesn't do like up and down. I mean, he does do some 5-string arpeggios, but it's more like something like this. It's kind of followed by like fast picking stuff or anything other than that. Definitely work on your pick attack. So that's how hard you hit the string. Because if you hit the string like this, I mean, it sort of sounds good right now, but if you hit it harder, it sounds more like him because that's how he hits it. Paul Gilbert? I've been playing for 4 years. Paul Gilbert, let me think. What scales does he like to use? I can't tell you like the exact names of the modes, but I would say he uses a ton of diatonic. He uses a lot of diatonic. He also has like on the Disincarnate albums, he has kind of I forget what it's called. It's like double harmonic minor or something. So it's like harmonic minor, right? Like this. But instead of that, it's this. So you're changing this note to this. He doesn't always use that, so a lot of harmonic minor and double harmonic minor. And then there's a lot of probably uses all the diatonic modes. Yeah, I don't think he actually uses the melodic minor scale. I've never heard him use it. That's like a Brandon Ellis thing. So like, I kind of learned to play like him by listening to him a lot. He's been one of my top players for like 2.5 years or something. 2.5 or 3 years. And I've only played for 4 years, so all-time favorite player probably. Someone mentioned, yeah, it's tremolo picking. Well, it's all, that's, tremolo picking is just doing that. I mean, it's alternate picking and economy picking. It's a mix of the two. Can I play Jeff Waters? I think that's the guy from Annihilator, right? Yeah. Okay. I know one of his solos, or I used to. I forgot how it goes. There's like a cool lick in there. It's like, nope, something like that. Name of that song? That's YRO by Racer X. Let's see who knows this one. Where's that? Known as Steve Vai solo from Shy Boy. Alright, I'm gonna go improvise now. Well, I can't find the one I'm looking for, but whatever.
Of course, the silent horror story. It had a 10-page
Wyatt,
paper,
right?
and
I don't actually know the song.
Ever struggle to write citations?
Oh, all the time.
I didn't want this. Yeah, whatever. can't just have... There we go.
The Silverado Trail Boss. And it'll work. And a new plug. And a truck that says no to nothing.
Hopefully it's not too loud. Oh, here we go. I probably can't play over this. Guthrie. It's Waves. I was just improvising over it. Fusion backing track.
Hay herramientas que te ayudan a construir, otras a reparar en Harvard. Todas te ayudan ahora. Cuando trabajas tan bien, mereces herramientas de calidad a bajo costo. Hagas lo que hagas, te cuesta menos en Harvard.
Get 4 weeks free when you sign up for Leader One for Seats.
have enough pick attack with this pick for that tone.
quiet.
I guess I'll find a different one. find the sweet spots. bass here right now. I can't really play bass very well, so Shouldn't say that. It's about what you practice. Like, if I try to play bass, I can't play it like a normal bass player. I get tired after a minute of that. Sweep picking. Just practice. Make sure that when you're sweeping fast, it sounds clean, if that's what you're going for. But also, if you're going for, you know, playing fast, you also want to make sure that you get like the mid speed sweep picking down, because look, I can do this and it sounds sort of clean, right? But if I play it like mid speed, I don't know. I mean, I've gotten better at sweep picking, but I used to have a lot of problems with playing mid speed stuff, so that's something that's really important. And also make sure that when you're sweeping, you change your pick slant. So like, if I'm sweeping like down, like descending like this, if I'm doing this, you want to have your pick so that it slides against the strings like that, rather than like that, because then it's going to get caught. And when you're going up, you're going to want it to go like this. So, sorry, I can't really show it, but yeah. Whichever direction you're going, just make sure that the bottom is behind the top, like that. So if I'm going that way, it's a shitty way to describe it. I gotta get my next beat. I don't even remember what band that is from. Is that Van Halen? I also don't know how that song goes anymore. I can play like... Hold on a second. I forgot, is that like swing or is it just... I forgot the tapping part. I never learned it. I don't know that one. That was Vinnie Moore. That's what it is. Same guitar coming in soon. Sick. it's a real good guitar. Just make sure you set it up, because it might not come in and set up real well. So if you get it and it's not set up real well, no big deal. Anyone got any guitar questions? Probably gonna end the stream soon unless anyone has any questions that I can answer. I mean, I don't know everything. Playing the electric guitar. If you're beginning guitar, I don't know if you mean like songs or like theory or techniques. I don't know. If you're thinking songs, I couldn't tell you because everyone's got their own genre, but I would start by learning scales and chords first. And chords are the same thing as arpeggios. Arpeggios are just played separately. So, like if I play 7th chord, that's a chord, right? So I'll play it once. Now this is an arpeggio. That's what that is. I mean, there's a lot of extensions and stuff going on. So yeah, practice your chords and your scales, arpeggios, and get used to the notes and the neck and stuff. What technique is most important for playing like Murphy? Oh man. It's absolutely going to be picking. Legato is something, I don't know, I think legato, I think everyone really finds legato to be easier. I mean, I find it harder, but I think most people find it to be easier. Like, the legato stuff that James Murphy does, it's probably a lot easier to do his picking. Because his picking, it's not like, so I don't know how to explain this, but he'll kind of like change patterns. It's not like, it's not simple stuff like this. I mean, he certainly has some of that, but it's a lot of the Paul Gilbert stuff like this, where you have like 2 fingers on one string and 1 finger in the other, or 3 fingers, you know, whatever. So sometimes not all your fingers are going to be on the same string for like a lick, so that can mess up your picking hand. So the legato is easier, but his picking is where he gets his sound from. That you can tell it's him when he does the picking, because a lot of legato sounds the same. I mean, in a way, because you can't really have pick attack on legato, but I'm not left-handed, it's just the camera. Like if like that's like James pick attack. He doesn't do a lot of arpeggios, but he's really clean. He's really clean at everything he does. So just if you want to play like him, just make sure you're like working on your hand synchronization, like your picking hand and your fretting hand. Make sure that you're hitting the notes at the same time. Can I play anything from Nitro? I don't know. Like that? I mean, I don't know. I can't play Nitro stuff because I haven't learned it, but. I have a different pick that I can play with, I can play the Michelangelo stuff a lot better with that pick, I mean, I've heard of Badlands. I know Tesla. I know Ridge Mob, but I don't know any of their music really. I don't know any solos or anything like that. There was one really good solo that I heard one day. I forgot the song. I think it was Electric Cowboy or something. I don't know, but yeah. I can play some George Lynch. But that's it. That's all I can do. Now it's... I don't know. Yeah, this guitar, so, just so you know, that's not me being sloppy. This guitar does not bend. I don't even think it bends a whole step here before it frets out. Yeah, so I gotta fix that apparently. started, I'm gonna say when I very first started, I was trying to do Metallica stuff, and then I moved on to like Megadeth riffs, and then I spent a ton of time on Testament, their riffs, and I learned a bunch of licks from solos and stuff. So Alex Skolnick had a really big influence on like my first year and a half, and then I got into Death. So I didn't really get influenced by their riffs as much as I did James Murphy's solos, and I went and found more and more James Murphy stuff. And then Brandon Ellis, I like David Davidson a ton, but I can't really be influenced by him because everything he's doing is like completely beyond me. It's like, I don't know, it's like a metal player who doesn't know theory trying to learn stuff from Alan Holdsworth. It's like, you might be able to get the lick down, but if you don't understand what's going on, it's like, it's just another trick you have. I don't really like it to be that way. I like to understand what I'm doing. Because at that point, if you don't understand what you're doing, you're just kind of, oh, yeah, they're pretty effortless because they're 8-gauge strings, tuned to E standard 8-gauge strings. Most people use 9s or 10s, but I use 8s because I find it a lot easier to bend. And even if the action isn't like super low, it's still really easy to play, very smooth, just because of the string gauge. Yeah, I don't consider myself to know a lot of theory. I know some theory. I just don't know as much as I should. I sort of know theory in a way, but there's a lot of theory that I've missed out on that I don't know, so I know like the names of the arpeggios I'm playing. I mean, I know a mode, or not mode, but I know if it's minor or major or diminished or a seventh, dominant seventh, minor seventh, major seventh, whatever. But it's also just, sometimes I just feel like I'm playing shapes that I know, rather than playing with purpose. I know whole tones too. I mean, it's still stuff that a lot of beginners don't know, but I wouldn't consider myself advanced in that way. I was just saying that I'm not advanced in like music theory. My technique is advanced, I guess, but music theory, no way. Or like intermediate, I guess. So messy sounding. I need to take it off that setting. Did I learn scales and make up your own licks at first? Did you learn? Oh, yeah, so I learned some other licks. I mean, I learned solos. I think the first thing I did was learn solos, and after a couple solos, I don't know, it was like three and a half years ago that I started like this whole solo and improvising thing. But once I got to learning solos, I think after a few solos, I started sorry, hold on a second. I'm trying to think. What was I saying? After a few solos that I learned, like a few good solos, I think I went to improvising, and I took some licks from those solos, but I didn't like copy them completely. I probably just took parts of the licks, and I've also made my own licks over time. One lick that I have, it's kind of it's an old one. It's like a year ago or something, but something like that. I changed it a lot, but I got some of my own licks. Like that. And that's really cool sounding. It's very easy to. Do I know any Chuck Schuldiner? Solos? Oh. I don't know. Probably don't. I don't know, I forgot his solos. I never learned his solos. I always learned James Murphy's solos. I think I learned one though. I forgot. I think it was Trapped in a Corner. I forgot how it went. It's like, yeah, I don't know how it went, actually. Forgot. But I know I learned. I used to know the Spiritual Healing solo, I think. Or maybe it was just James Murphy's that I remember. Well, I don't know. I'll probably live stream later tonight too, but I'm gonna end it here soon. See y'all later. Thanks for tuning in.